Hello everyone, in this video I will be doing a breakdown of my King Shark Suicide Strike build, which is a good choice for any incursion. This build focuses on one-shotting enemies with your Suicide Strike and also boosting your damage significantly with the Scarecrow tier 3 set, which makes the build great for pretty much any scenario. You can easily reach over 100 million damage on your Suicide Strike with this build, but because of the huge damage increase we're getting from the Scarecrow tier 3 set, this build works well everywhere. For this showcase I am using King Shark because he is the most suitable for a Suicide Strike build due to his talents, which give him a lot of Suicide Strike damage and resource generation. The build can be used on any other character just by swapping the firearms to whatever fits your character. The way the build works is by using 3 pieces of the Scarecrow tier 3 Nightmare set, which gives us up to 3000% damage to poison enemies, 300% poison damage over time and 3000% Suicide Strike damage. This is by far the most powerful infamy set in the game right now. Using this set in the Fear episode also gives us the following additional bonuses: 600% overall damage increase, 120% damage reduction, and killing an enemy with a Suicide Strike while Nightmare is active will give us an additional stack of Nightmare. One thing to keep in mind is that the Scarecrow tier 3 set is currently bugged, and the only way to stack Nightmare past 20 stacks is to use all the 3 pieces and kill enemies with Suicide Strikes. Because of this, I do not recommend using this build outside of the Fear episode until this bug is fixed. Make sure to read the set description carefully and make sure you understand what it does and how it works, because it is important to maintain the Nightmare stacks to get the most out of this set. Besides the Scarecrow tier 3 set, we are using a stacked deck shotgun as our main firearm because it makes enemies take 750% more damage from all sources and it's multiplicative. Another key component of the build is the two-phase melee, which we're mainly using for the Dread and Mayhem villain synergy, which can increase our damage by 250% when we kill an enemy with a Suicide Strike. The rest of the items in the build are mainly there for the damage increase or utility. So far I was able to clear Mastery 204 in Season 1 with this build, but it can go much higher because enemies get one-shot at my current Mastery level, so I'm expecting it to handle up to 300 easily, and then way higher than that once the Scarecrow tier 3 set is fixed. Let's dive into the items we are using for this build. In the firearm 1 slot, we are using a shotgun with a stacked deck trait, which makes enemies take up to 750% more damage from all sources for each hit they take from this firearm. You want to have one from the Amertech or Intergang manufacturers because they have the fastest rates of fire, so they allow you to stack the debuff on enemies very quickly. Even if you don't have one from Amertech or Intergang, the build will still work with any other manufacturer. Depending on your preferred character and firearm type, you can use anything in this slot as long as it has the stacked deck trait. Just make sure it is a firearm with a high rate of fire. In the firearm 2 slot, we are using a Tachycardia shotgun, which is only there for the set bonus. For the melee, we are using 2 Faces Persuader, which is mainly there for the villain synergy, but it will also be our main grenade ammo generator. For the grenade, we are using Reign of Bane, which is only there for the set bonus, which gives us a pretty good damage increase. For the Left Riot and Imposter Syndrome incursions, you want to swap this out for the Polka Dot Man grenade because it has better AoE damage. For the shield mod, we are using Immersion, which is there only for the set bonus. For the traversal mod, we are using the Turtle Steel Force Conduit, which gives us up to a 500% damage increase if we are constantly moving. For the neckband mod, we are using Actualization, which is only there for the set bonus. For the Lucky Charm, we are using Dr. Poison's Affliction Attunement. This charm will be our main method of applying poison to enemies because of the slow death villain synergy. Besides that, it also gives us up to 330% damage to afflicted enemies, which is great. The affliction we are using for this build is Livewire Bolt. The main reason for this is because the other 3 afflictions have downsides that would be counterproductive to our build, so we are using the one that has the least impact. The fact that it also gives us 100% critical hit chance against enemies is a bonus. Let's move on to the recommended augments on each item. For the primary firearm, you want to have critical hit chance, critical hit damage and Suicide Strike resource from critical hits. For the secondary firearm, you want to have critical hit chance, shield harvest chance and Suicide Strike resource from critical hits. For the melee weapon, you want to have shield harvest chance, Suicide Strike damage and affliction resource from melee hits. For the grenade, you want to have explosion radius, shield regenerated for each enemy hit and Suicide Strike resource for each enemy hit. For the shield mod, you want to have critical hit chance, shield harvest chance and damage while shield is at 100%. For the traversal mod, you want to have damage to grunt enemies, damage to brute enemies and damage to enemies that are within 5 meters. For the neckband mod, you want to have electrified resistance, squad ultimate resource from enemy kills and damage to electrified enemies. For the lucky charm, you want to have ammo gained from critical hits, squad ultimate resource from enemy kills, and damage to electrified enemies. When it comes to talents, for King Shark, we are taking all the talents that boost our suicide strike in any way, and anything that increases our damage. Some of the key talents are Dominating Presence, Domination Strike, and Ultimate Shark Strikes. For the squad talents, you want to get Suicide Strike damage, Critical Hit Chance, Critical Hit Damage, Damage to Grunt enemies, Damage to Brute enemies, Squad Ultimate Duration, Damage to Electrified enemies, damage dealt during squad ultimate, and the rest is up to personal preference. Now, besides the loadout of our main character, it is important that we also equip our bots with firearms that have the stacked deck trait, because they can also apply it to enemies, and the effect will work, so sometimes you don't even have to apply it yourself to enemies, because it will already be stacked to a maximum by your bots. Make sure that both of their firearm slots are equipped with stacked deck weapons with the highest rate of fire possible, or at least their firearm 1 slot. Let's move on to the build playstyle. The goal with this build is to build up stacked deck on enemies and one-shot them with your suicide strike while making sure you are not dying. In order to make it easier and easier, you need to keep stacking your nightmare stacks from the Scarecrow tier 3 set. You can do this by hitting enemies with your firearm, melee and suicide strike. Keep in mind that because of the bug, you can stack nightmare up to 20 easily just by spamming firearm, melee and suicide strikes, but after that the only way to keep stacking is by killing enemies with your suicide strike. When you engage an enemy, start by using your affliction strike or affliction grenade to apply poison in order to get rid of all the annoying modifiers. After that, use your shotgun to apply stacked deck and make them harvestable. Use your shield harvest before using your suicide strike to one-shot them. Keep repeating the same process and make sure to always use your suicide strike as a last hit attack in order to keep stacking nightmare, which will be your main damage booster in this build. Use your squad ultimate whenever it's off cooldown and go ham with your suicide strikes. Use your shotgun to instantly get suicide strike resource back to full, but be careful not to kill yourself because you will take damage when shooting enemies because of the Share the Pain mutator. Make use of your shield harvest, grenades and suicide strikes to get shield back. That will be it for this video. Thanks for watching and I'll catch you in the next one.
Get defending the sprouts! These pricks ain't here to sniff the roses! Count to 3! Yeah, what? I smell pretty damn delicious, Slim Mate, but I better run it off!
Store this affliction burst up, or use it now. Choices.
Be careful, units. This shot can go head-to-head with the best of you.
Grenade live!
Now they're off that rooftop, you should kill everything in sight. You better be impressed, meat sacks.
Looks like rain!
Boomerang, I will aid you with your target.
My helpers are okay. I can feel it in the root network. One affliction burst. All by lonesome. Shall we let it out?
Target sighted.
Where's the shark?
We can do it, Daphne. Then we go home and have some nice organic coffee grounds. Maybe a meat sack too. Your work is done, but my afflictions are just getting started.
a little more opposition, Task Force X.
Keep running. Any damage you've done, I can repair. Anything you've taken, I will recover when I integrate your world.